record button. Jim Wolf, behave yourself.
That's a stretch.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good evening. I will call the May 3rd, 2021 regular virtual order of the Economic Development Commission to order at 6:30 exact. My name is Joe Mira, Chair of the EDC, and I will now give a brief introduction to those who are new to GoToMeeting format. Members of the public, if you joined the meeting by computer, tablet, smartphone, please send your name below your camera image. Also, please keep your camera inactive. Keep your microphone mute during the meeting unless you are speaking. Since the system does not do well with multiple speakers and the audio from only one person will be recorded, only one speaker will be recognized at a time. If people do not participate respectfully, I will be forced to use the mute all button so that the person who has the floor can be heard. If you are participating by computer, tablet, or smartphone and want to ask a question or make a comment, please indicate this by typing in the chat bar, and you will be called upon in the order which you've been received. When you are called on, please unmute your microphone, activate your camera, introduce yourself, state your name, address, ask your question, or make your comment. If you are participating by telephone, please introduce yourself with your name and address, ask your question, make your comment. Anyone who refuses to give their name and address, or if someone is not respectful to the commission, you will be disconnected and blocked from the meeting. We will now begin the meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
The United States of America, and to the republic
one
for which
nation,
it stands,
individual, with liberty.
indivisible.
Again, good evening and thank you for coming. Is there any discussion on last month's minutes, except that you did a nice job, Stacy? Keep up the good work.
I have just a slight comment. I was crossed off as being absent, but I was there. So on the draft, it shows me, somebody wiped me out.
Yeah, they brought that up to me too. Tim thought that you were out, but then we noticed that you did make some comments and seconds. So I am going to just erase that and keep the draft as the final, the way that it was.
Okay, because I was there.
That was completely my fault, Jim.
I know, when I apologized to you for missing the meeting, I meant the town council.
Oh, okay.
So, you confused the meetings, Tim, I understand.
My bad, sorry.
All right. Thank you, Jim. The expense report, anything on the expense report? All right, we'll move right on to the committee reports. Marketing, you guys have been doing a fantastic job. If you could update us, please.
Sure. We met on April the 12th as subcommittee meeting, and we took kind of a high-end presentation of where we stood at this stage of the game. We're still trying to figure out what we're going to do with Facebook. We did some more improvements to the landing page of the website and continue to do that. We're winding our way down with the students as the school year goes. In fact, they're doing exams right now. So we're going to meet again on May the 13th, 8:30, because we want to prepare all of ourselves for a presentation to the town council, which I think is the 25th. If I know that correct, I'll check to make sure. And we're going to have 2 of the students make a presentation. We're looking at Joe opening up, leading us off. The students will make a little bit of a presentation about what we've been doing from a marketing standpoint. And then we're looking at Tim to end it. And of course, we'll all be available to have any questions, any answers for the questions that come up. So that's going to be the next meeting that we've got going and where we're going to head off to. We're going to try to utilize the Retentions and Incentive Committee to help us in marketing to build our e-addresses so we can have more contacts out in the marketplace via any mode that we have. We'd be happy to do it, but we're trying to get the word out. You've been getting some, I think, I know I'm getting them anyway. You've been getting from Tim some of the information that we're sending out now regarding what's going on in the town and such. So we'd like to build that to be even bigger than it is, and it's going to be a slow process. And retentions and incentives. Gary was at this last meeting of our marketing, and he said that he would talk to Joe, get the approval for doing it, and then he'd get himself in his committee involved in doing that. Tim, and when I finish up, Tim can explain it better than I can. Proposed a ad that we're going to do in the Fairfield Business Journal media, and I thought it was a great incentive and a great way for us to promote the town at a very reasonable price. So I okayed it. We did not have the committee meeting at that time, so I'm kind of having Tim going to present it to you, and if it all looks good, then we'll go ahead where we're going. Well, actually, I think it's been booked, so I kind of went ahead of everybody, but we needed it done right away. So basically, that's it. Let me just think. Yep, that's it
Okay.
as far as I'm concerned.
If I could, the town council meeting, do we have a date on that yet?
I think it's the 25th.
May 25th.
The 25th, yeah.
Okay. The only thing that I would recommend is I have no problem opening the meeting, but I'd like to introduce you as chair of the committee so you can give some meat and bones to it before the program starts. If that's
Yeah,
okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. I was doing, I mean, I would have loved to have done it. I was just doing it out of respect for the old man who was being the chair, that, you know. So
When I see
it's
him,
a
I
pure
will tell him.
respect thing, so.
I understand that, but I think what's fair is fair, and yeah, I have no problem opening it and, turning it over to you, and you can
That'd
kind
be,
of go into it in
That-
depth,
that'd be fine,
Just-
yeah.
the way it should be.
Yeah, one other thing is, Joe, Tim and I were part of the budget hearings that went on with the council recently. And I'm sure there's going to be some more coming up, but it was one of those, we presented the budget, questions or answers. I think there were a few questions. It wasn't too exhaustive, and I think we were on second ones on. So we were out of the meeting pretty fast with the town council. So
I think it went well.
I thought it went very well. Yeah, excellent presentation. So anyone else from my group that can like to add anything to what I've said?
No, I think you covered everything. Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Did you want me to address the Fairfield County thing, or?
If you would do that, yes. As I had told you when I okayed it, I think it's better that everybody in the commission knows exactly what we're doing here. So.
Sure. Just briefly, you remember that we had stopped our marketing outreach when COVID hit just because of timing, right? It's just not the right time to be asking people to consider Wallingford in terms of their business growth and expansion plans when we're at that point triaging. So and we kept saying we have to wait until the market starts to soften, or it starts to strengthen rather, and come back. And it has been very, very busy the first several months of the year, starting February. So I called Mark and said, we've got the funds still in our budget, and I strongly recommend that we put them to work. And the timing was such that we needed to do something pretty quick, because typically we like to be in the market promoting ourselves in May. May's a very good, strong month, even April, but we missed April. So for the month of May, we will be digital only in the news News at Noon products for the Fairfield County Business Journal and the Westchester County Business Journal. So we're, that's Westchester, New York, and Fairfield County. This reaches, this is an active distribution model, which means people subscribe to it and they get these email pushes in their email boxes Monday through Friday at noontime. On there, we're going to have, so I'd encourage you to go on when you get a chance, or maybe we can forward, Stacy, remind me tomorrow, we'll forward, the first one that came out today, we'll forward it to the EDC. But so there's two block ads. One is an ad, just a stagnant ad, a state ad, and the other is a link to our videos. It's a link to our, why would you want to move your business to Wallingford video? So we found those to be good and good timing. The second thing that we have not launched yet, but we're considering is with the Hartford Business Journal. We as an EDC, our message has been us saying to the business community, this is why you should consider doing business in Wallingford. What I want to do is a testimonial campaign that talks about, from a business standpoint, let's get the business to tell other businesses why they moved to Wallingford. So the first one, Anthony, is featuring your boss, all right, Bruce Dorak from Hops and Mozzer. They obviously made a big move to Wallingford a couple of years back, invested in a building, have spent millions of dollars in investing in Wallingford. So we had a photography crew go out to Hops and Mozzer. We had a freelance writer go out to Hops and Mozzer from the Hartford Business Journal to write this testimonial campaign that have not yet approved the final story, and we'll get Bruce to sign off. I stress that this is an advertorial approach, not a reporter going out to Hops and Mozzer, because if it's a reporter, we don't control the final content. But we're using, we had Hartford Business Journal on their dime use a stringer, which means that we can control the final message. So anyway, so those two things, very timely. We're hoping that we can see that, in their digital product sooner than later. So that's the update. And marketing committee, again, my apologies. The timing was just such that we needed to move pretty quickly in order to capitalize. So I blame Mark.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem. I got big shoulders. That concludes my report for marketing, Joe. Anything else?
No, the only comment, I was hoping to be at that meeting, but I have another meeting that day, so won't be able to make it.
Hey, Mark, would you, Anthony, I hate to put you on the spot, but Anthony, would you mind commenting on the meeting that we had with that executive from LinkedIn?
Yeah, of course, that's fine. On the Hartford Business Journal, I saw the article today and approved it. They interviewed me and Bruce, and they got a nice shot in front of the Wallingford plant. So that should be coming to you fairly shortly. It came out good. It's a little blip. The only thing I would add is it doesn't have a link to our EDC website that I saw. So I'll send it back over with a couple of comments. Yeah, and the LinkedIn gentleman, you never know who you have here in town. He was really an interesting gentleman to meet, very deeply entrenched in that organization, and he's and taught me more than I knew about LinkedIn, and I use it all the time. So I thought he was very insightful, seemed very willing to help. Any way we can engage with him, I think, would be beneficial. So you have to see what you can do with him.
I'll add that we're all about networking as a commission, and this was a fellow who called because of one of the commercial properties in town. So he has a full-time job, but as a sideline, he's got other business interests. He was looking at a piece of commercial property that was on the market. So we had a conversation. I got his name and so forth, but obviously did not ask him what his profession was. Well, I returned a call because I had gathered some information, and his voicemail said, "This is so-and-so from LinkedIn." So when I called him, when we finally connected, I said, after we got our business out of the way, I said, "What do you do for LinkedIn?" This guy is the national sales manager for LinkedIn. He lives here in Wallingford. So, I mean, what a fantastic resource. So you just never know, right? So anyway, we will pick his brain as best we can, right, Anthony?
Joe, that takes care of it for marketing.
Okay, thank you, and thank you all. Planning and zoning. Jim, did you want to start off? Hank?
Yeah, I can start it off. The next planning and zoning meeting is May 10th at 7 o'clock. It's going to be remote. There are, let's see, 4 items for public hearing. 2 of which, I know Tim has been working very close with, and that's the second agenda for the public hearings is 5 Research Parkway. And that is, of course, the old Bristol Myers. And it's a special permit for warehousing. So that's coming up. And then the third special permit is for 1070 North Farms Road, which includes 2 Northwood Road. And I know Tim has been working on both of these. And I don't know if Tim, do you want us to support both of these, or?
My suggestion would be just to lay low on both.
Okay, I respect that. Yeah, give me that. Those are the only 2 items that we've been working with closely on the agenda for next week. So that's all I've got with that. Joe, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. Jim, coming back to those things, should we be there for these hearings? Or is there anything we should be adding to them? Or?
I really think, 5 Research Parkway just has to run through the process. I think, I know the property owner anticipates some decision on May 10th. I would be shocked if that took place. I just think it's a lot more involved than that. And there are complicators. The biggest challenge that I'm hearing internally and externally from the 5 Research Parkway, the old Bristol Myers site, is the ratio of parking to building size. The building is proposed at 219,000 square feet. Keep in mind, Bristol Myers was 1 million square feet. So that gives you some, proportional reference. It's for a 180 acre site, it's a small building. And I know that's not a commentary necessarily on my part. That's what I'm hearing from planning and zoning. The big thing is that, planning and zoning regulations talk about parking, the amount of parking that's allowable per square foot of the building. So without getting into the details and the numbers, this ratio of parking to building is way, way more parking than the regulations allow per building square footage. So there's some concern about that. They're concerned about stormwater control. The reason that, the watershed folks will tell you in a heartbeat, they'd rather see rooftops than parking lots, because rooftops, they can control the water much better than they can off of a runoff of a parking lot. Rooftops don't need to be treated for ice and snow. They don't need to be plowed, sanded, where parking lots do. So, there's a real concern about the ratio. And I think that, for the commission, this is my 2 cents, for the commission to take a position is almost as if the commission would be taking a position on that part of the regulation, which I just don't think at this juncture is a wise thing for us to do. So I really think we need to let the Planning and Zoning Commission, work through it. And then we may at some point in the future take a position, but I would say that we've got to let that conversation start. So that's my take on 5 Research. Northrop Road, we are, excuse me, I think that's a great project for us. I think we've mentioned at a prior meeting that the problem becomes, the pinch point really becomes Northrop Road. Everybody's been on Northrop Road. It is an old farm road. It is at some points relatively narrow. It is a little bit wavy. where traffic sight lines are not always the best. And, we're concerned that, that road itself could stymie our development opportunities because it's not conducive to, trucks traffic. The question becomes, are there points on that road where if two, tractor trailers were trying to pass side by side, that could be an issue? So our engineering department has applied for a grant to study Northrop Road to potentially addressing this issue so that this does not become an inhibitor to developing some sites on Northrop. But I don't feel as if we should, wait, for that to happen. I hope they approve these projects on Northrop Road. Now, I'm sorry for the length of the response, but I want to make sure I address all the details. So in your mind eye, if you can picture yourself, taking that right or left onto Northrop off of 68 by the Courtyard Marriott and driving straight down Northrop in a northerly direction, you come to an elbow in the road where you go left, and then you basically have Meriden on the right side of the street, and Wallingford on the left side of the street. Well, right at the elbow, that's going to be a pods warehouse facility. So, and at the elbow, the right side of the elbow is in Meriden. So the pod facility will be in Meriden. That in and of itself will bring some traffic. And I think it only makes sense to think that traffic is going to go on Northrop Road. It's not going to go through Meriden. It's going to go from that elbow to Northrop Road to 68 to 91. In fact, the city of Meriden has reached out to our building official and asked to change the address, because that elbow is a Murdoch Avenue Meriden address. They'd like to change it to a Northrop Road address, because they just know that, when people are, using their GIS to get to the facility, they're never going to get there, through Murdoch Avenue. So, because there's no, as the crow flies, it's Murdoch Avenue, but there's no road. The road ends in Meriden. So, and then, at that elbow across the street, at the crease of the elbow, is Wallingford, and that's where these two proposed facilities are. So, and I think it's great use of the site. If what we're trying to do is, or what the property owner is doing, is preparing the site to go to market. So it's referred to in the business as shovel ready. So it's the same way we got the Best Buy warehouse in Northrop Road, is because we had shovel ready. We had approvals for a certain site, a certain size. And then you can go to market and say, I've got a project that's already got the approvals, and you can effectively market it. So, and we are actively talking to several people already, even prior to the approval. So, but that too, I think it's in our best interest to make sure that we understand if the Planning and Zoning Commission has any issues with that. I mean, they may not, but so I hope that gives you a little bit of background. And Joe, to answer your direct question, should members of the Planning and Zoning Liaison Commission be at the May 10th meeting? If your schedules allow, I think it would be a good idea. I certainly will be. I think we basically have to understand and take the temperature of the Planning and Zoning Commission, as those things are being, going through the process.
I agree. I think it would be good information background for both those projects. All right. So again, if you could send out a reminder in the middle of the week for this to the committee, and for those of you, Hank or Jim, I plan on being there. I don't know if you guys can be there, but
Yeah, I'll be there, Joe.
I will also.
So
Great.
we should have a final agenda from our town planner by Thursday. And once we get the final, we can send it out to the Planning and Zoning Liaison Commission for as a reminder.
thank you.
Did I say 7
Okay.
o'clock, 7 p.m.? Was that the time of the meeting?
I'm sorry?
Was the meeting at 7 p.m.?
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
Okay. Retention, planning and zoning, we'll try to have a committee meeting, May 18th. Does that work for everyone, or?
what time, Joe?
8:30
AM or PM?
a.m.
I am not available, Joe, on the 18th in the morning at all.
All right,
We do it the 19th?
I don't know.
Or the
How's the
17th?
night?
The 19th would work, 19th would work better for me, but it's up to everybody, up to you.
17th works better for me.
What day was that, Hank?
17th is better.
17th? Okay.
Either one works for me.
I'm okay.
So the 17th at 8:30?
No, 17th or 19th.
So, no, Monday, May 17th at 8:30, is that what we're talking about? Okay. Stacy, do you have, you got that?
Yes, Monday, May 17th at 8:30.
Yep, so we'll have to put together an agenda the week before. Okay.
Okay.
Retention, Gary or
Yep,
Rosemary?
I'm here.
Okay,
just-
I'm sorry.
Just didn't turn my camera on because I don't want you to get overwhelmed with the color of my sweatshirt. Anyways, we met on April 29th, retentions and incentives remotely. And a couple of the things on the agenda, and to make a comment also to what Mark said with regard to the email list and working with marketing. And again, to give another kudos to the marketing team and all the work they did. A couple of things we went through. We started off with looking at the incentive housing zone discussions again with regard to the downtown area, downtown and uptown, I guess you could say, and looked at what's going on the corner. Well, I guess you could say down in the whole area of the railroad station, both where the Stella's Pizza used to be, as well as that particular plaza, as well as over on the other side, trying to figure out how we could get people together to put together a package. Again, a lot of issues impacting that, some of them COVID related, people being able to work on certain corners and doing things, not being able to take care of tenant issues. So, we're still kind of tabled that. We did have a brief discussion about how difficult it is at times to do things down there because of train horns, which Jim Wolf, again, a man on the railroad tracks, and Tim giving us an education on decibel levels and directional horns and everything else. But certainly not joking. All joking aside, it's quite a bit of noise, and at least we looked into it and looked at some type of remedies on that. And I think we're going to get some remedy on that, some relief. With regard to marketing and the marketing committee and getting the addresses, we talked a little bit about social media, and we talked about LinkedIn and Facebook. And, I think it was Anthony, we talked about, putting little teasers out there on some of the social media things where we know we have incentive programs. We know they're on the landing page and on the town website, but, we could get into a couple of did you know type questions out there on, you can save X amount on electricity or whatever we have for incentives per se on tax packages and so forth. So kind of gaining some of the spinoff from the marketing group and, using that to say, because when you get on the, nothing against the town website, but you get into I don't want to say it this way, the details of the incentive program, you may not get people to, go through all that. But if you just say, give a little teaser out there and then they can go deeper into it and look at it and get onto our site, that may work for us. We also spoke about let me see where we go, uptown, downtown issues. Progress was being made in a certain amount of properties that Tim highlighted with regard, I think one of them was the properties uptown near the Di Natale property uptown near the old police station, and things that were done with getting people together to move forward and take down some of the old buildings that were, I guess, further preventing things from going forward. We got a little bit into that, and that looks like it's going to move forward. The other thing is that there's the American Rescue Package, which I know Tim will detail, but I know we're going to dig into that, and that's going to be part of the entire committee to get involved with, and certainly in retention and incentives. That could be something that would be very helpful for us to bring businesses in town, or recruit businesses. The other part we went into was with regard to well, I should say, I'll stop on that point, but one of the other things I was thinking about was one of the really bright spots, and I happened to visit it this Saturday. If we took snapshots, Tim, of the area down near the Amazon day delivery facility and the solar panel array and the recycling center and so forth, that is quite a benchmark to show the old version and the new version of what that building looked like before Amazon got in there, and what I guess for lack of a better word, what the dump looked like before all that started. If you go down there, and it's an extremely efficient facility to go in and out of the recycle center down there, and to take a look at that and say, here's old, here's new, here's what we've been doing in town. That would be a nice little incentive program to show, hey, this is the type of progress we have in this town. I haven't scheduled the next meeting yet. We probably will be doing it at the end of May, but I think that's pretty much the report, Joe.
Thank you. Looks like you've been a little busy.
Just a bit, but we're catching up too.
Rosemary, did you have anything to add, or?
Can I comment, Joe?
Yes, please.
So the message that we sent out in our digital channels this past weekend was recommended by the Retention Incentives Committee. It was about the incentive housing zone in downtown Wallingford. So that just talks about and shows the collaboration between committees as to how everybody's got an idea. You don't have to be in the marketing committee to have an idea as to how we can promote Wallingford. So just keep the ideas coming. You'll notice in the fourth bullet in my report, and Gary referenced it, it was 50 South Main Street. That's the building right across from Town Hall. That's set back off the road next to the Webster Bank, and the properties on Wallace Avenue. Both are actively being worked on. 50 South Main Street is in the process of being gutted. So, I've got a bird's eye view of that every single day, and I've watched dumpster after dumpster after dumpster. So that's an active project, which is great. And I will give kudos to the Wallingford Electric Division, because on the Wallace Avenue property, so this is when you turn the corner by the package store there, and right behind that, there are two pretty beat up looking buildings. Locals refer to them as the chicken coops. The hurdle to trying to get something developed on that site was the fact that there are electric phone poles stuck in the ground in some pretty important spots. So we met with the Wallingford Electric Division, the general manager, Tony Bucari, myself, Mr. Di Natale. This was a bit ago, and said, what can we do? How do we underground this power? And it sounds simple, maybe, but it isn't, because everybody's on the power. You got to contact cable companies, the people who've got fiber optics on the power. It's not just Wallingford Electric at all. It's all of the cable companies. It's quite an involved process. But Wallingford Electric Division has worked out an arrangement where Mr. Di Natale is paying a pretty hefty sum with their cooperation to take an underground and power, which will eliminate 2 phone poles, which now allows for the development of those chicken coops into 2 townhouses, which have been approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So anticipate some activity there. And of course, Mr. Di Natale has been approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission a while back to put residential in the old, the old police station on the 2nd floor of the old police station. So, from not above Cafe Ra, but from Cafe Ra to what is now a Thai restaurant. That whole 2nd floor is office. That'll be residential space. So it's nice to see that activity in the town center. So I just wanted to expand upon Gary's comments there. And then lastly, Gary's comment about the train horns. I just want the commission to know that this issue is being dealt with from the mayor's office. So we met with 7 representatives of CT Rail down in the Brothers parking lot a couple of weeks back. And this is the culmination of months worth of, conversations and talks and discovery and figuring out what we can do and what we can't do. I will say the rail people have been extremely cooperative. So I give them a fellow named John Burdick, who is a high-ranking official in the rail system, happens to live in Wallingford. And so John has been a great ally. He's been very resourceful, been bringing people together. But it was the mayor, Corporation Counsel Janice Small, it was the chief of police, it was engineering, public works, myself, the mayor, all met with these 7 railroad officials down there, standing in the parking lot. We timed it in such a way that we would witness 4 trains going by within a 20-minute window, and talked about the horn noise, the frequency of the blows, all that stuff. So I don't want to get into all the detail because it's not appropriate, right? And you don't want to hear it anyway, I'm sure. But I just want you to know that this is something that has got the attention of the mayor, our legal department, all because the Economic Development Commission said, hey, these noises are preventing development. The increase in rail traffic was an economic development stimulator. That was the objective. The objective was to come up with transit-oriented development opportunities around commuter rail. And your commuter rail is doing just the opposite. It is retarding any type of development opportunity because of the noise. So we've got their attention. They're working with us. Gary did mention the directional horns. If you go by, next time you cross over Hall Avenue or Quinnipiac Street, you will notice some small directional horns. They look like the megaphones that cheerleaders used to use in the 70s, but you'll see those directional horns that actually aim down to the ground at the car, at the first automobile that is sitting at the gate. So they are directionally aimed down, as opposed to the ones that come from the engine that are blasting outward this way. So now the directional horns are directing down towards the automobile. Now, it's not a cure-all because they're not on yet. So they're still in the testing phases. They just installed them and all that. So they've got to go through testing, decibel tests, et cetera, but they'll be live pretty soon. The question now becomes, well, the sound is not going to be dispersed, so you probably won't hear it across town, but the same decibel level has to be used per federal railroad regulation. That decibel level is directed very, very, prominently in one spot. So, those cars, it could be deafening, those cars. But there is one of these directional horns that is working right now, and it's over by CVS, all right, between Wallingford Toyota and CVS at that crossing. So if you're curious as to what they sound like, you can go over there, sit there, and wait for the train. We think it's going to be helpful, but it's not, it's not the panacea. I will add one other thing, and that is that when they install these directional horns, it appears as if they did not take into consideration that Hall Avenue is a one-way street going across the tracks, and it goes from east to west across the tracks, because they put a directional horn on the west side of the tracks. Well, there's not going to be any cars queuing up on the west side because it's a one-way street. So we've already asked them to take and reconsider that horn, and that horn aimed down, but that's closest to the apartments that are right across Washington or Cherry Street. So again, I seem to always apologize for the length of my explanations, but I don't want to leave the details out. I want you to know, though, that this has got the mayor's attention and the attention of the railroad, and we're pushing pretty hard.
Hey, Tim.
No need for apology, Tim.
Okay.
Hank, did you want to say something?
Those horns, Tim, are functioning because I was walking into church on Sunday and I heard them.
Oh, okay.
So I did a double take, and then generally during the service, 1 or 2 trains go by, and I heard the rumbling, but I didn't hear any of the horns inside the church. So I was thinking that something had happened.
Oh, terrific. Oh, that's good. Thank you, Hank, for reporting that out. I'll have to go down there and listen.
Yep.
Yeah, what happens is that there's a trigger on the track. So, up some appreciable distance, there's a trigger on the track that says to the conductor of the train, it's basically a circle with a big red X in it. Simple as that. When they see the circle with the red X, that says, don't blow the horn. Don't be yanking on the horn because there's a directional horn up ahead. It'll take care of it for you. So, good.
Yeah.
I appreciate that update. Rosemary, did you want to say something earlier?
No, I, because of where we live, I see a big difference in the horns, Tim.
Good.
I don't know, I was gonna ask, if anyone else, Mark, do you see a difference or do you hear a difference?
I can still hear the trains go by up here. I mean, I'm so far away that it is faint, but I can hear the trains go by here. Now, whether it's the directional horn or it's actually from the train itself, I'm not sure, but I don't think I'm probably hearing it as much as I used to hear it, but that may be just me thinking about it. I don't know, but I do hear it. I guess the final answer is I do hear horns when the train goes by.
Right. Yeah, we've seen a significant difference, but I don't know.
Okay.
Certainly not because windows are closed,
Yeah, one of the challenges that we have is that Wallingford, I wouldn't put this on our positive asset list, but Wallingford has the most at-grade train crossings of any community in the state of Connecticut. So start at Tully's Road. All right, they're still blasting the horns at Tully's Road. They're still blasting the horns at Ward Street. Now they're doing directional at Quinnipiac and Hall. Still blasting the horns at Parker. All right, they're not blasting the horns at I'm losing it by CVS. I can't think of the name of the street. So we have all of those at-grade crossings, which makes it very, very challenging. So you may not hear as many, but I would bet, depending on where you live, when Ward Street's blowing or Tully's is blowing, you may still hear those, right? So you may hear Parker, right? Now they had recommended that we not do directional horns at Parker Place because of the proximity of those apartments to the track. They're so close. They're saying that the directional horns, people may find them worse because the sound is so focused. But so we said, well, let's solve Hall and Quinnipiac first and go.
Okay.
Tim, I
Thank
can
you.
tell you the ones down near CVS are much quieter than they used to be. I can tell you that. For those of us that hang out at Dunkin' Donuts every now and then.
I agree.
Okay, thank you. Chairman's report. Stacy, part of my report, in the future, if we could just switch the chairman and the staff report in the order. Have the staff report come first and then the chairman's report.
Okay.
Future agenda. Okay. But first of all, I want to recognize, I think it's the first meeting he's been at. Ray Andrewson is the new head of the Quinnipiac chair. I don't know if everybody's got a chance to meet him. If not, you should take the time. He's going to be a good asset to the community. And welcome, Ray.
Thanks, Joe. I'm glad I'm here tonight. I do want to say this about, I have plenty of things to say already, just learning about economic development and reinforcing what I have known from years of living in the communities around here. But I grew up with the Reeds Gap rail line literally my backyard. So I'm used to freight trains and train noises. And my father-in-law had a 35-year career in railroading. So when I get stuck at the railroad crossings, whether it's Tully's on my commute in, or if I'm on Quinnipiac or Ward or any other street, and a train goes by, I consider it a wonderful moment in my day. Everybody has a different reaction.
It all comes down to perspective. That's good.
Yeah, I just love it.
Again, welcome to
I
town.
think it's, I don't want to take up too much of your time tonight because I want to be a listener more than a speaker at this moment. But over time, I hope I can help you all and participate and advocate on your behalf, engage on your behalf. and really go to work on behalf of the town and the community. I will say that on the website and the videos and a lot of the publications of what's been produced already are very impressive. The town has a dynamic amount of variety resources to call upon. We have a lot of good things to work with. And it's not Chamber of Commerce speak to be upbeat, it's reality. And it's not just about electric plants and about the facilities, it's about the variety that we offer. I mean, Wallingford is a very interesting and blessed town in that regard. So keep up the good work. And Joe, thank you for the time to talk.
You're welcome. In line in the chamber, as you know, we started the hubcap years ago with many functions, and one of them was to increase the flow of business into town with the incubators. We've revitalized our business startup, small business committee, and we're putting on a program in July, which is aimed really at the startup businesses or new businesses or business recently started who's looking to take their business to the next level. And you'll hear more about in the upcoming weeks. But again, our hopes is to bring more businesses into the downtown. Hopefully, again, as we've done in the past, rent out space and watch them grow in the community. So you'll be seeing more flyers on that. And Ray, you'll probably be seeing more new members from it, but you'll get more information on that in the very near future. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Tim because unfortunately or fortunately for us, he's been a very busy person and he's got some interesting words for us. Tim, it's up to you.
Very good, Joe. Yeah, it's all good. All good. I just wanted to share in general, I'm very pleased that there has been a lot of market activity. January was kind of slow. It kind of, it was the kind of, COVID impact still rolling around, but February is like someone just took the fence down and everybody started to run. And there's a lot of market activity. We've got some turnover. You at the Wells Fargo building in downtown Wallingford or up in the town center that you were going to see some new activity there. You've read the stories about the police station and their prospective move to 100 Barnes Road. There's lots of conversations about what can be done at the new police station or the present police station in terms of reuse of the building. Lots of activity in the Wells Fargo building. I've got 3 people that are waiting for this thing to be listed because they're chomping at the bit. So I'm encouraged by the fact that given the new lease on life, both of those buildings will see at some point that there's that level of interest. So that's very encouraging. We continue conversations about the old train station, and quite deliberately we brought that out at a public EDC meeting in January because we wanted to take the reuse of that historic train station, the commercialization of that historic train station, and bring it to the forefront and get it out into the public conversation space. And I'll tell you, I mean, most all of the conversation about that is positive, which could not bode better for the prospect of doing something significant there. So we are still just waiting to get a feasibility study done there. So stay tuned for that. I guess if there's one negative, I will say that there's still no improvement in the office space market when it comes to manufacturing, when it comes to warehousing, even retail. I mean, we have very little retail space open, which post-pandemic, if we can consider ourselves in post-pandemic mode, I think there are many of us that thought that could be a real issue. So, I mean, we have, the square footage of retail available is very small. Office space, Class A office, we still have about 25% vacancy rate. We are not alone. Not that misery loves company, but at least it's not Wallingford. It's Wallingford and beyond. It's regional, and frankly, as time goes on, that vacancy rate is stretching geographically. It's not contracting any place outside of the major cities. So New Haven is benefited by a lot of the medical business that's going into that area. So New Haven is doing well. Hartford is not. So and we're considered suburban office, and suburban office markets are extremely soft. So I will say that also the, I hope you read in the paper, I think I may have sent you the article, that a company called Fresh Bev is leased 46,000 feet up at the 3 Sterling Drive, which is the prior Quest Diagnostics home. Quest is still in the building. It's a 94,000 square foot building. Quest sold the building to a New York developer a couple of years ago. They retained 15,000 feet for a local operation, but they packed up and moved their entire operation to Massachusetts. So we have what they call a rapid response center here in Wallingford. So if they collect some blood and they can't get it up to Mass for processing in a timely manner, they'll process it here in Wallingford. So you can do the math. 94,000 square foot building. Quest has got 15. We just leased 46,000. Still some space there, and not surprisingly, the space that remains open there is office space. So, obviously, always working on that. The old Sky Zone building, right across from Walmart. The Sky Zone did file for Chapter 7 sometime. It's worked its way through the courts. That building went on the market about 45 days ago. Became a bidding war with 6 very active bidders. The person right now that's in control of the application or control of the property, has an offer in that's been accepted with contingencies. We have met with, I cannot publicly disclose, I'm sorry, but we've met here in Town Hall with the town planner to make sure that their uses are allowed, and they are. I think we'll be excited about the use. And we've met with other town officials to make sure that we can expedite a process once they go through planning and zoning. They are scheduled to be on not the May 10th PZC meeting, but the following. They'll be at their June meeting for approval. So you'll see that'll be released pretty soon. So I share that just to say that there's a fair amount of good positive activity, and hey, that also always makes people like us smile, right? I would just briefly go through a couple of high points of my report, many of which have been touched upon already, which is all good. The I-5 zone, that Commissioner Wolf has been talking about this with Joe for years about potentially expanding the development opportunities in the I-5 zone. The watershed, of course, is the complicator. As we've said publicly and we have witnessed, we have a lot of development in watershed properties in the town of Wallingford. They just happen to be in the IX zone. So the question becomes, why can we develop in the watershed in the IX, but not in the watershed in the I-5? It's just intuitively difficult to take and digest that. So the thought process right now is to take potentially, again, I'm just sharing conversation. There's nothing that's been firmed, but potentially do away with the I-5 zone. All right. And Jim, this is an idea that you had years ago, and just have one zone, but then have a separate set of watershed regulations that say, if you're going to develop something in the watershed, here are the regulations. So the mayor, myself, town planner, town engineer met on this subject several weeks ago to say we need to get some traction as to what that would look like. So the town engineer, Allison Kapuscinski, has taken that project under her wing. I checked with her last week just to get an update, and she's very actively into it, taking a look at what responsible development in watershed territories, watershed zones look like. She's taken it well beyond Connecticut. She's looking at other parts of the country. So I think we're going to get a very thorough report back from her that says, not can you develop in the watershed, but what does responsible development look like in a watershed? So stay tuned for that. We talked about, well, I see Kathy Lilly in the meeting. You probably saw the story in the paper, I hope, about the 23 South County Street Plaza, where Stella's was, and you'll see in my report that's going to soon be a Natalie's Pizza. Completely gutted the inside. I mean, complete ovens. I mean, everything ripped out, right down to the studs. New electric, new everything. So completely redoing that entire restaurant inside. Planning and Zoning Commission approved a patio So there'll be a patio dining experience as you're looking at the restaurant as if you were walking in the front door. It will be on the left, so between the building and South Colony. What was there before were dumpsters. So I think it's going to have a lot more effective use as patio dining than it was for a place to put the dumpsters. So planning and zoning is approved a structure there that will have knee walls. So it's not just somebody putting up cones and ropes and a tarp. This will be a permanent outdoor dining structure that will have knee walls that obviously act as protection from traffic. It will have a permanent roof fixture, and it'll be all kinds of plantings, and it'll look like we're dining at a cafe in Venice without the gondolas. So let's see, that the rest of that plaza will be fully leased by the end of this month, which is very encouraging because we haven't had that plaza fully leased in years. And then the plaza includes the properties along Quinnipiac Street. So as you come by Berkshire Hathaway, and then you've got the kitchen place on the corner, go to the tracks from there. There's several storefronts there. So he will be fully leased by the beginning of early June or at the end of June, which I think is fantastic because I give a fellow named Carl Davia all the credit in the world. He came in with energy, with vision, and with capital, and he's putting it to work, and he's fulfilling what he said he was going to fulfill. So, and that is a project that this commission supported, and we got involved because there was a building there that had fallen into disrepair that needed to be raised. There was a pretty hefty fine, a blight fine that was put on that building, and we had taken a position as a commission to ask the town council to reduce the blight fine because it was being passed to the new owner through no fault of his own, and that we were comfortable with his promise to reinfuse that capital into the facility, into the plaza, and lo and behold, he's done that. So I think it's a success story to date. So stay tuned. You'll see in the downtown report, there's several other things. I just want to take a minute and say, Kathy, not to embarrass you, but I think Kathy Lilly is doing a fantastic job as the executive director of WCI. There's activity on downtown. There's a downtown bingo game that's going to be taking place pretty soon. We've got a sidewalk chalk drawing contest for kids coming up. She took it upon herself to get volunteers to go through and clean all the downtown parking lots, pick up the trash. So talk about energy. Kathy's got a lot of it. So
Thank you, Tim.
yeah, you're welcome.
Tim,
And
I was just going to make the same comment, Kathy, that the newsletter is terrific too. I mean, just having that and keeping us aware of what's going on, that's really great.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And Kathy and I met with the representative of the Connecticut Small Business Development Center this morning to talk about specifically how the Small Business Development Center can help some of the smaller businesses that seem to get, just kind of overwhelmed or intimidated by a lot of the programs that are out there, COVID relief type programs that takes, a marginal level of sophistication really to engage and understand. And this woman, lo and behold, Patty Powers, lives in Wallingford. So, so she'll be another great resource for us. I want to just move on last three things, Joe. Kevin Pagini is our new town planner. So Kevin started a couple of weeks ago, off to a fabulous start. I think we've got a great hire here. Kevin is originally from Meriden. His education took him into New York State, where he has been a planning professional in New York State for a while. They do things very differently there because they have counties, and he was a county planner. So he'll find the experience here to be somewhat different in that there's a lot more direct interaction with applicants here than there was there, because he in essence worked for communities, and then the communities interacted a lot with the applicants. Tomorrow, Kevin and I have got a site meeting at 3 Sterling Drive with the representatives of Fresh Bev, and we're also meeting with a business owner that's looking to open up a small business in the town center. It's actually an educational use that I don't think I'm supposed to say publicly, but I share it only because, Kevin is right out of the gates saying, I'm willing to go out, I'm willing to engage, I'm willing to meet the applicants, which is, it just sets the stage for a process that typically can move it along pretty well. So I'm very pleased with his start, if you will. And, Tom Talbot, who was the acting town planner that took over, when Casey retired, we owe him a debt of gratitude. He filled a gap that would have otherwise been very, very problematic for our community. So, and he came out of retirement to do it. It was a 3-month stint that's been now a little over a year. So kudos to Tom for staying the course. And then lastly, Joe, you've heard me talk about our new business lists. And we have, I say we, a number of economic developers have pressed the Secretary of State's office and the DECD for years now to say that every business that starts has to register with the Secretary of State. Not every business that starts has to register with the town of Wallingford or any municipality. So we never get a complete list of who the new businesses are because many of them don't have to register with us. If someone wants to open up an accounting office on Center Street, they don't have to register locally with anybody. All right, if you open up a food service, well, you have to register with the Department of Health. If you come in to do a DBA, a doing business as, you do have to go down to the town clerk's office. But in many cases, businesses start and do not have to come and register at the town. But every business has to register with the Secretary of State. So that is the one central repository for all new business starts. And for years, we could not access that data through the Secretary of State's website because it was not sortable in that fashion. Well, several years ago under the Malloy administration, a organization called the Connecticut Data Collaborative was formed. So we took our message from DECD and then took it to the Connecticut Data Collaborative. But lo and behold, we now have the ability to go into the Secretary of State's website. It is public information. And given some exercise to get there, you can now ask that website and sort accordingly. Tell me all the new businesses that have registered in the town of Wallingford and put in the date range. You want for the year, for the month, for the week, put it in, and lo and behold, you get the information. So, hallelujah. So now we understand where the new businesses or the new business starts. It is not perfect because this is a list of LLCs, DLCs, domestic liability corporations, foreign liability corporations, or LLCs. It does not necessarily tell you where the business is. It simply tells you where the offices of the LLC are. But we can use it as for data points in terms of saying, what's the business activity look like in our community? So you'll see on the bottom of my report, we have historically been very pleased that we've had 50 plus new business starts a year for many consecutive years running, that we culled after a lot of work by calling the electric division hookup list, which is something unique for us because we can ask our electric division to tell us who hooked up a meter where our surrounding communities that don't have their own power companies can't. But so we worked it that way. Well, right now, you'll see that through the first 3 months of 2021, there have been 116 LLCs that have established themselves as new in Wallingford. 116 in 3 months. Now, what we're seeing is an explosion of home businesses. Many of, so, Stacy and I have been culling through this list. It's pretty laborious, but it's a learning curve at this point. But so you can see by the address of the LLC when it's a residential address that someone's opening up a business consulting firm. It could be an accounting office. It could be a creative services business. But more and more people doing this stuff out of the comforts of their home. So stay tuned as we continue to try to decipher and make some meaningful draw some meaningful conclusions from the information. I just wanted to share that we now have access to that. So, and that, Mr. Chairman, and I'm sure you're all very pleased. Oh, you will see that list attached to your report. You've got those Secretary of State lists, so you can take a look at that data at your leisure if you care to. And that, Mr. Chairman, concludes my report.
I do want to make comment that you did a nice job on your business activity list to see a different format, which is also nice. Thank you.
Hey,
Okay.
Tim, if I may, a lot of investors will buy a piece of property and put it in an LLC, and it doesn't necessarily constitute a home business. I've had a lot of properties in LLCs in prior years, and it was just the physical address of that property. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a home business. You know,
Understood.
I don't know how you would sort that out. But it certainly looks like there's a lot of activity.
I completely understood, and we're not sure how you can sort it out either. So it's a little bit of a partial score, but nonetheless, I think the common denominator is that it denotes activity. So we can't necessarily pinpoint all the time where the activity is, and that doesn't mean that we're going to take our eyes off the street. We're not going to take our eyes off the Electric Connect list, because part of reaching out to these businesses when we see a new meter that gets connected is this office calling those people up, confirming that they're a new business, and thanking them for choosing Wallingford. This is our business friendly outreach that says, congratulations on opening your new business in Wallingford. We're here to assist in any way we can. I know, Ray, that Gary has used that list in the past as a prospect list. So, there's other purposes, for the list. So we'll continue to work it from that side, and give it some time. We'll see how these things start to kind of blend together. There may be some overlap, but anyway.
Tim, I think it's like you said, it's a good starting point. It's kind of a directional thing. I mean, if we all kind of scan through it and all the people that we know within this committee, it gives us some direction that says, okay, let's dig a little bit deeper.
Agreed.
I think it's a great resource. Good job. Anything for the community business, other community?
Yeah, I'd like to bring up something, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Could I mention how surprised I am?
No, I've been looking at a parking lot at the YMCA on River Road, and I guess it's
South Carolina.
yes, North Turnpike. And there's a piece of their parking lot that empties out onto River Road, which is the entrance and exit to the Merritt Parkway. And I've been noticing that commuters are using that. Very few, but here and there. All right, you can tell, you can see the same cars. All right, and I don't believe the Y will ever use that piece of land that's currently a parking lot. Maybe we could make a deal with the state, or the Y can, but we don't really have any commuter parking on that interchange, either there or further down, or even at Times Fiber. There isn't really any commuter parking, and I thought that would be an ideal location to get the state and the Y involved. Maybe the Y can make a few bucks and lease it to the state or sell it to the state or whatever. Well, what I would suggest at this point, because it's a new item and I like to take my time over the next few years looking at this. If everybody could take a ride by, maybe at some point when you're in that neighborhood, just kind of cut through there behind the gas station, it would be a perfect commuter lot.
I know what you're talking about. I think you're right, Jim. I think it's a good idea.
Jim, just so you know, when I was on the Y board, there was a brief discussion regarding putting a cell tower in that extra end of the lot as well. And then the Y could have made some money off of that, but I don't think they ever followed through with it. Because there is no cell tower in that area. Just,
Well, I think it would serve better as a commuter parking lot, where none of those exits have commuter parking. So it's just an idea. We can kick it around for a while.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Anything else?
Joe, can I chime in?
Yeah,
Tim, where do we stand with, the town made a great hire with Stacy. Where do we stand now with an assistant for you?
We are still waiting for HR.
Yeah,
I will say somewhat disappointingly, it's been almost a month. And we're
Yeah.
still waiting for HR to get the requisition for the job. The job description's been written, been approved by the mayor. It's in HR's hands. If you're following the paper, you know that HR has been extremely busy.
Mhm.
But we are ready. We are more than ready. We are waiting for internal processes. And I've shared my feelings with our chairman on that last week. So, but I don't mean to be HR guy. I know they're up to their elbow. They're up to their eyeballs rather. So we will find our spot on their list eventually, but actually
What
has
about
to
that
get.
guy who stuck his head in the door?
What's that, Gary?
I said, what about that guy who stuck his head in the door before we started the meeting?
yeah,
Is aware.
Okay.
all right, thank you.
well,
Hey,
anything
Joe.
else?
Yeah,
Yes.
so since Kathy mentioned cell towers, so the breadth of what we get involved with and this commission is as wide as anything you can imagine. So we deal with cell towers too. And there's a major change in the cell tower landscape because of 5G. So there was a time when, the best cell towers were the ones that reached high in the air so that you could fire that signal as far as it possibly could. And then with 3G, it became, well, the latency, given the length of the signal has to travel, was unacceptable. So what they wanted is they wanted point to point. So now instead of the towers being as tall as they possibly could and firing from here to Long Island Sound, they had towers located so they were close enough where they could hit another tower. So pinging off of towers all over the place. You've heard that terminology. Now with 5G, because of, again, speed expectation, the antenna will go back to phone poles. And there will be things that are, size of your toaster oven, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe the size of a soda case, that will reside on phone poles. And these boxes will have to take and carry the signal. So maybe every 5 or 6 phone poles, there'll be a 5G signal. And it will just chase around, bing, 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 bing on all of these types of towers. So, and that's not going to happen tomorrow. But the likelihood of new cell towers going up in a traditional fashion is probably less likely today unless something falls into disrepair and it has to be repaired. But they're no longer out, searching for locations for new cell towers like, they once were. That market is going to be changing pretty dramatically over the next several years as 5G continues to roll out.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Alrighty, if there's nothing else, I'll wait for a motion to,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. I thank you all. I really appreciate your time tonight. We'll see you next month.
Thank you,
Good
Joe.
night.
Everybody.
Good night.